Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron, Patrick, and Johann. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Good morning and welcome to Ask the Accountant. My name is Johann, and I am here today with my co-host, the fabulous Aaron from Bofix, the QuickBook chap, the man himself. Aaron, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Very much looking forward to today's show. I think we've got some nice tasty topics. Hopefully we can cause a bit of a stir like we did last week.
Always. Well, to start off with, we're here and we're on time, which I went round yesterday and changed all the clocks in my house and then realised I do it every year. There's always one clock I miss and I always see it the next day and then panic that I'm running late. So I sat there at 7:30 drinking my coffee and I look up at a clock. It's like, oh, it's 8:30. It's like, no, it's just the one clock I didn't change. But yeah, so what a week. We caused a splash, I feel. Our little piece on practice management softwares and accounting softwares actually helping us out and supporting us got a reaction. Aaron, I think you had a few calls. We certainly had a few comments on the LinkedIn and YouTube videos. Client Engager has reached out and confirmed that they are already looking at the options that the HMRC MTD API provides so that they can see what they can do for us to help firm updates and keep that as a true source of truth, basically. But yeah, Aaron, I think you had a few people reach out to you. Was there anything in particular they said or explained?
Yeah, I think actually having a rant made a bit of a difference, which is impressive, isn't it? What we are 4 episodes in now, and yeah, we kind of had our piece, made sure everyone knew about it, and there has been quite a lot of nice feedback. And I think most of it is around the fact of yes, we were right, which is always nice to hear, but I think it's more the fact that they weren't 100% aware of those were the pain points. I think that's what we've got to keep pushing forward, and that's where a platform like this and anyone out there who's got kind of feedback or got anything that they would like to bring in as well, that's what the feedback form's for. So whack the feedback in, let us know, or if you've got comments, like we've got Paul and everyone else who's live at the moment in time, let us know and we can use that opportunity to chat it through. But yeah, from the calls we've had just this week, and I've got a couple more kind of booked in going forward as well, it looks like that hopefully we'll be able to give you some positive updates on how that's going. But great news by Client Engager. That's fantastic to see that they're up there to get everything changed. That's what we'd like to see.
Yeah, nice public pledge of ongoing support from Client Engager on the LinkedIn feed the other day, committing to it all, which was fantastic. A lot of these softwares will tell us that they're doing something behind the scenes and we can't tell you, but when someone comes out and pledges it on LinkedIn, it gives you a bit of confidence that they're going to hold themselves accountable, which is nice. So yeah, so what's happening tomorrow, Aaron? I heard something's happening at HMRC, and there's been a bit of rumor on social media.
Yeah, well, I think personally, based on last week's feedback as well, last week, and you just out of the blue gave me 30 seconds to go and tell everyone what it is. I think it's only fair that I throw this back at you, to be honest. So, Johann, I was supposed to get it all set up so that I can actually do it live, but yeah, the technology's failed me today. But I'll make sure we put it into the short going forward. But you have 30 seconds to explain to everyone what is happening tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow on the 1st of November at HMRC, they are turning off the VAT submission portal. So this is the next step from MTD VAT. Basically, back in April, all VAT submissions should have started being submitted through the MTD portal. They are now getting to the point where they're ready to turn this off and force everyone through it. So yeah, it's a big moment. That portal's been used for many, many years. But that's it. As of tomorrow morning, it will be no more. Unless someone forgets to turn it off at HMRC, which could happen. You know, it's in the to-do list.
Yeah. And they've already said, haven't they, there's some circumstances where they'll be allowing it to go through. So we'll see how many of those people fly through. I think what my favorite kind of quote from HMRC about all this was, it brings it normalizes MTD for VAT, which when you think about how much they've, or lack of actual putting out information and telling people, you'd have thought they'd be banging the drum a little bit more about it, wouldn't you? Because I don't know about you and I don't know about your client base, but we keep getting inquiries who have no idea that MTD is going to finish for them. And the only way they're going to find out, the old way of submitting VAT is going to finish for them, and the MTD is now compulsory. The only way they're going to find out is when they go to submit next quarter's VAT return. So they'll do what they normally do. So if anyone's out there follows this route and you actually go in and you log into your HMRC dashboard each and every quarter to file your VAT return, and you're happily going in there and you're pressing the submit button, you're filling in those 5 boxes or 7 boxes, how many you've got to fill in, and you press submit on HMRC, then from tomorrow, you won't be able to do that anymore. And there hasn't been enough information going out there. HMRC's response to that is, well, we put a nice little banner on the top of every single submission. So when you log into HMRC, you should see this banner, and that should be all you ever need. But like everyone, like we see banners all the time. You kind of almost get blind to them, don't you? Especially when it's the same banner each and every time you log in. So yeah, so this is going to be the, from tomorrow onwards, you won't be able to log into any form of HMRC portal to file your VAT return. You have to use software. And that's going to be going forward from there. Have you had the kind of same reaction on your side, or how's it been from your client?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot of bemusement out there. I mean, so we can't file through the old system anymore as of tomorrow, but at the same time, we can't register a company for VAT and it be MTD ready automatically. So, this has been a rule since April. Surely it makes sense that any registrations of VAT registered businesses from April onwards should have automatically been on the MTD scheme. But no, we have to register for VAT. Then we have to register that VAT registration for the MTD system. And then we get the client approval to be able to do everything. So, yeah, it's HMRC for you people. It's HMRC.
And it's still confusing for us accountants, isn't it? Like the 64.8 process, we've got 2 different portals and 2 different places we can stick the name. Before they're MTD registered, you go on one portal, but after that they go on to another portal. So it's been a long time coming, and this whole normalization of MTD that they're all going to be shouting about and so excited about, well, we've had enough time to get everything all set up. So it's going to be a really confusing stage, even for us accountants, just to get people on, because there's no easy way for us to know if they're MTD or not MTD, and it's all down to confusion and everything else. And I think what we need is we just need to get that solution sorted. I know one of the positive bits that HMRC have made though was, and this was 9 months ago now, was it? The idea that you cannot file at all through software unless you are MTD. Because at one point they were allowing submissions through software via MTD portal and non-MTD portal. And for QuickBooks, for example, the only way you would find out if you're MTD or you were filing MTD compliant was a little stamp in the top left-hand corner, which was, the only way for you to understand if you've actually gone through the steps and was pushing yourself through MTD. So at least they stopped that. That was a really positive move in my eyes, because that made people go, oh, why can't I file through anymore? Oh, it's because I'm not MTD. What's MTD mean? And then go through everything through there. So that was a positive move they made. And that at least means going forward that we know if they're on MTD or not. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, it's going to be quarter, isn't it? There's going to be 3 months of us getting a lot of people very confused as to why they can't file. and we'll go from there. Do you think this could also be starting towards the wind down of MTD for bridging software? So for anyone who doesn't know, bridging software is the opportunity where you can still continue to use your Excel spreadsheets if you were using Excel before, but you submit that Excel spreadsheet instead of putting it all into something like QuickBooks or Xero or anything like that. So do you think this could also be the start of the end for that as well, or what's your gut feeling on that?
I don't know. I'd like to think so, because MTD bridging software in my mind was only ever a sticking plaster, and I don't think it's anything accountants should have ever been really recommending. I personally think if you're going to solve a problem for a client, solve it properly, get them on the software, follow the rules, best practice, etc. But yeah, I mean, I think whoever's in charge at HMRC on fines and penalties, etc., should swap seats with whoever's in charge of MTD, because they are so militant and like there is no swaying them on a fine or a penalty. But then MTD rollout, it's like, well, we'll give you a few, we'll give you from April to November to make the final switch, and we're only going to allow bridging software for a year. Well, actually, now we've got it indefinitely, and like. If everyone should have been filing by the 1st of April onto MTD software, why didn't they turn off the portal on the 1st of April? No. If everyone should be filing through software, why did we allow bridging software for more than 12 months? I think they've made it messier than they needed to be. I think if they were quite strict and drew a line over saying this is the date and this is how you do it, it would have forced the change that they were looking for, whereas they've kind of watered that down and watered down the impact, I think, of MTD a bit. But I'm sure there's plenty of accountants and bookkeepers and business owners shouting at me through their YouTube and podcasts saying you're an idiot. But that's just my view.
Well, I guess software has not helped in this matter, has it? Because, if you look at the big software out there, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks, doesn't matter which one of those you pick, then if you want to do a VAT scheme, you've got to do a workaround. Like there's no magic button to turn on, that's a partial exemption client, let's turn that feature on, or that's a global margin scheme client, let's turn that feature on. So all these more complex VAT features, then you have to go down proper specialist software to be able to deal with them. And for most clients, they don't need that speciality. They just, because of circumstances, like they've got a national lottery machine in their newsagents or whatever it's going to be, because of circumstances, they're forced down a particular VAT scheme. Well, why can't software help support that? Like some of my most popular videos and most popular kind of comments and everything else from the stuff I do online is all around designing solutions for software so that they can be compliant for these sort of schemes. Why wasn't that a priority for those solutions to go out there and go, right, let's build something that's going to solve partial exemption or solve all these things? So at least then there was an argument to completely get rid of the bridging solution. So it just feels like yes, it's a big ask, but I've seen software that can do it. Like I've used software before that can do partial exemption and all the other elements that are there. But surely the priority from HMRC's forcing and from software to be first to market should have been, well, let's find these ways of being able to do it for these VAT schemes that are in my mind, the only reason that bridging is still properly around, because of those complications. I assume from your point of view, you can't see anything changing on that for anytime soon, can you?
No, I don't think HMRC have the confidence in their systems and processes to be able to turn around and say, right, we're scrapping bridging software. I don't think they're going to change tact very quickly. And I think they've all kind of moved on to ITSA now. They're all kind of, well, we've got MTD VAT, it's working, people are filing, that'll do. Let's move on to the next one. We'll come back to this in a few years' time and try and improve it further.
Yeah, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's just frustrating from my point of view that, if they were going to be wanting us all to go digital and everything else, and again, it kind of goes back to what we were saying last week. We were relying on software to give us those solutions, and there's been no talk about it. Like no one said, oh, we've got it in development, do you want to try it out? Or we're thinking about going down this route. It's just like, Oh well, it's quite a complex task, so we'll come back to that later. And it's at the end of the day, yeah, we're never going to come back to it by the looks of it for the mainstream software anyway. We've had some people chatting about it though, haven't we? Chariot accountants. So my feeling is MTD is a bridge to digital tax overall. Once it's the only way HMRC will drop. Once it's the only way HMRC will drop the MTD tag completely. They don't want to call it MTD VAT going forward, do they? They just want it to be the VAT, which is what their aim is going to be. And Samantha Mitchum says, great point about VAT registration, and that's from a Sage person as well. So even the Sage team are excited about MTD as well.
How to make friends and enemies, Aaron. How to make friends and enemies.
You got to pick your battles. You got to pick your battles.
Yeah. So moving on, Aaron, I don't know about you, but I have seen a spike in requests for cash flow tools and support to a degree. So clients are asking me, we're going back to how it was back in COVID of, we aren't sure how good the business is going to be in 6 months' time because of the economy, etc. Is there a way you can help us with our cash flow tools? With our cash flow, but we can't really afford to pay for it either. So we've certainly been promoting the QuickBooks cash flow tool, which is built in. I believe Xero's got a cash flow tool built in, which is free to use. I could be overstating and falsely advertising there. But yeah, during COVID, we certainly saw a lot of these accounting tools launch a cash flow tool that was basic, to be fair to it, but it did a job. It helped the simpler, smaller businesses to project their cash flow as they needed to. So, yeah, are you seeing this trend? Are you seeing clients suddenly getting worried again about their cash flow?
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those, isn't it, where I think we're going to see, like you said, it's, we had it back in COVID days and we've got it now. And it's one of those things that's going to keep coming back and forth. But what I would love to see is this become the norm, because it just gives us that opportunity to have those really in-depth conversation with clients. When a client's phoning up and having a chat with you, especially through the COVID times when it was so, we were sat there, clients were really upset and really difficult to try and trying to console clients in some circumstances. You're really seeing people, livelihoods under risk, and you're seeing family businesses for the first time ever seeing difficulty. And that's where those cash flow forecasting tools was such a great tool for us accountants, because we couldn't give them the answer they wanted. We couldn't say everything's going to be okay. But what we could do is say, look, let's look at facts and figures. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at what's happening. And at least then, if it was good or bad news, at least they were having actual news that they could then use to work with and actually do something about. And I think it's this whole concept, isn't it, again, about us as accountants not being accountants. We should be business advisors. And how do we be business advisors? What does that actually mean? Well, something as simple as going through a cash flow forecast with a client is business advisory as opposed to accountancy. It is trying to give them some sort of insight into what's going on. And with the software helping us and giving us those tools, it makes it such a better way for us to actually engage with clients in that sort of way. And what I also love about the cash flow at the moment is, I think another reason why it's becoming so prevalent is we're getting, not forced to, but we're getting encouraged to talk to clients about it, because a lot of these cash flow forecasting tools like Fluidly and Futurely and Float and Fathom and all those sort of ones, they're partnering up with the funding people as well. So you've got your Swoops and your Fluidly and Capitalize and those sort of ones as well. And it becomes, they come in hand, and it's encouraging them, or it's encouraging you as the accountant to be able to provide that information for your clients, to give them opportunities that maybe they've never even considered before. And I think it's just the evolution of where we started with cloud accounting and software and getting this real-time information. And I feel like now we're starting to get to that point where we're seeing, the fruits of our labor starting to come about, because we wouldn't have been able to do this before back in, say, 950 days or Excel days or, desktop days. We're only getting to this point now because we've got real-time information. We've got bank speeds. We've got this information coming in. And yes, it's very much a case of still, the data is only going to be as good as the data in. It's, rubbish data out, rubbish data in sort of mentality. But I think also the software providers are helping us more and more on that front as well. They're giving us tools to make sure the data's right. They're giving us tools to do reviews and everything else. And it's all starting to come together quite nicely. There was this massive, great scope of let's just make real-time information and let's be able to click a button and we get cash flow. Well, we're starting to actually get there with relatively ease for us as accountants when we know how to present the data and how to get the data in. And that's why we're having that chance to have those conversations. And we've said this before on the show, and we'll say it again, like as accountants, we don't really enjoy doing tax returns. That's not what gets us excited throughout, doing work and everything. But the opportunity to actually sit there and talk to clients and give clients this feedback, I think is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'm excited for it. And I think the whole feedback and the fact that we can talk to clients at this sort of level so easily is all a benefit. How are you finding it? Are you finding that it's actually easier than before, or are you finding it more difficult to actually have those conversations with clients? Okay, Johan. I don't think he's here at this point in time. All right, we'll give him a time to get himself back up and running. Let's see if any people out there have any views on cash flow as well. I'm assuming that it's that I'm still talking, so that's all good, and it's just Johann's. It's probably been part of the worst possible time to have cut out for him. Oh, he's gone completely. That's exactly what we want. That's technology at its absolute best. So let me take that one off there. All right, okay. So looks like a solo show for until Johann can come back in. So I'm just waiting for him to come back on now. So yeah, I mean, when you think about cash flow itself and how cash flow is going to be so prevalent to businesses going forward, I think this is a really good opportunity for us to see what as well we can get out of it. Because as Johann just said there, like the solutions that have been put on are quite basic. And Johann, you are back. Do we do a quick mic test? How are you doing?
Yeah, I am back. Sorry about that.
And clarity as well. So all I did there was just threw back to to you to say how you're finding it in terms of cash flow forecast at the moment from your clients. Is it easier to bring those conversations in? Back in the day, it was easier when it was COVID. We had that time and we had a reason to talk about it. And I know the economy's not great at the moment, but you find it easy to have those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I think our biggest challenge is clients want to keep their money in their bank. And we went into COVID as small businesses, the majority of which were debt-free.
Yeah.
They've come out of COVID with debt, more debt than most of them would have ever been able to borrow without the government financial support that was on offer in bounce back loans and CBILS. Most banks and lenders would not have lent small businesses that volume of money from an affordability point of view. So they're now going into potentially another economic crisis laden with debt. So cash flow is going to be even more challenging this time. So what we're finding is clients want to look at cash flow, but they want to look at it themselves and kind of be guided as cheaply as possible on this. So they're not spending more money than they need to. So we've been pointing them all to QuickBooks cash flow tool, which is free. It's built into their software, with the majority of our clients being on QuickBooks. And then as far as using that tool, yes, there's a few phone calls, but we're actually pointing them towards our YouTube content and the YouTube content of other accounting firms such as yourself, Aaron, to explain how to use that tool so that they can then do it themselves. And yes, okay, that's not lining our pockets as such, but the goodwill that it builds and the opportunity to discuss cash flow and the importance of it after the economic crisis, it stockpiles, it gets better for the future. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing a webinar with SIF Analytics and Cresco on Thursday, I want to say, where we are talking about reporting, cash flow, and getting payments in earlier, credit control, and how even things like moving from, say, PayPal, which is, I think, 4% charge on each transaction, to Cresco, which is free, how that will, just that 4% saving on every transaction could add up and really help the business in harsh times. And one of the topics we've already said we're going to cover is the difference between accounting firms that are charging substantial amounts of money for this support, putting clients off, and accounting firms that are trying to do it as cost effectively as possible, if not free, and the benefits and the ups and downs of that approach that we saw during COVID, and helping share those lessons for the potential upcoming economic crisis that we've got ahead of us. So yeah, it's a challenge, because obviously we all want to support our clients and look after them, but we need to pay our team's wages. And if our team are delivering cash flow support free of charge, then that's not paying the wages. They should be working on stuff that pays the wages. So we've got to get a balancing act there. But clients are certainly revisiting their cash flow. And what I'm really pleased about, though, is clients have stopped caring about their balance sheets, and they've stopped caring about their profit and loss. You can run a loss-making business for several years as long as the cash flow is good. Your business could be profitable but bust in 6 months if the cash flow is not there. There's no point of having £1 million profit if £1 million of that hasn't actually been collected in and put into your bank yet.
Yeah.
So cash flow, I always refer to it as the blood flow of your business. It's what keeps your business alive. And it doesn't matter what your statutory accounts say at the end of the year. What matters is there money coming in to the bank account to pay the bills, which is then going out? And then once that's gone out, is there more money coming in?
Yeah, I love that take as well. And I think that whole point about the pricing of the service and everything else is where Charity Accountant says here, for me, it's not typically a conversation I really have with clients, as so many are what I refer to as hand-to-mouth workers. The reason we can't have that conversation is because we're almost scared to charge, because, like you said, if you do an astronomical fee, it's going to put them off and they're not going to get their support. So that balancing act is so important. And I think that's where software becomes so critical to us to be able to provide that. That's why I'll always say, like, QuickBooks putting forward cash flow in, during COVID was such a huge part. And I hand on heart, I do believe that's the reason why we were able to support so many clients. And hopefully that was one of the reasons why they were able to survive and be able to keep going, because every single client, we were able to just have that conversation about what does this mean for cash flow. And, every time I had to say to them, look, this software is brand new, there could be issues here, but let's have a look. Let's see what it looks like. Let's have that conversation. And if it's just a click of the button and it's available and we can have a look at it and at least try and get some sense out of it. I mean, if there's two heads trying to look at the same data, hopefully we'll be able to kind of understand it sort of idea. Then that becomes that conversation topic that we don't have to charge the earth for, that we don't have to, make it to be this big engagement that we have to do with clients and they have to sign up for and all this and the other. It can just be an organic conversation that we have with them. Well, I suppose my question is, though, like, that software, and I'm just talking about QuickBooks here, and I know Xero's got similar, and I'm pretty sure Sage has got their own built in as well. But that software is still in very much its infancy. And how far do we go with that? Because there's that worry that if we go too far, then the lights of Fluidry and Flow and cash flow flog and all them not become almost obsolete. So we don't want to go too far with our cash flow solutions within QuickBooks and Xero and Sage. But how much further should we be going? Because, little tweak here and there, like just putting taxes into there, like VAT, for example, or corporation tax, or whatever it's going to be, that's a huge part of cash flow that's missing from the basic tools we have. So do you see, or do you want to have this full-blown wonderful cash flow forecasting tool directly in, or is it right that we have now that we almost have that step up to more sophisticated software?
Yeah, I think it's a gateway. It's a conversation starter that we've got at the moment. And what I really like about it is it's simple enough for the business owners to go and do it themselves.
Yeah.
And they can just go plug in the numbers. It's not going to have any impact on anything else in QuickBooks or Xero or Sage or anything. It's a safe space for them to as the tech developers call it, sandbox their ideas and stuff. And if that means that the client has got more confidence in their cash flow, then I think that's fantastic. If they come back to us and say, oh, it's taking too long, or I haven't got time to enter all these figures, then okay, we're going to charge you for entering those figures for you because you've not got time yourself. If, however, you need more features, then we can get you a more powerful bit of software, but that's where the money that's going to have a new monthly subscription to that software. So it's working out what each client needs and just taking their lead on it. If I try to flog a paid for cash flow tool at the start of COVID, clients just they'd have used the back of a napkin to work it out. Like they wouldn't have paid for the software. The fact that we've helped them go from a back of a napkin to something such as QuickBooks Cash Flow makes their lives slightly better, and it's probably a bit quicker and easier and more reliable so it's a step up in the right direction. So I don't see the need to make the free versions all singing, all dancing.
Yeah,
I think it's a conversation starter. It's a nice value add, and if the client then wants something that's more shiny and automated and intelligent, shall we say, then that's fine. But that is going to cost them probably £30+ a month in software alone, never mind setup fees and stuff like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one, to be honest. And but I suppose the only counter to that was when we were sold the dream. Can you remember the dream that was sold? And this was from QuickBooks themselves, one of the infamous QuickBooks Connects. And the dream was this whole idea that when it comes to cash flow, like what else can we do with it? Like they had this whole idea that when QuickBooks Bank was going to be brought out and into the UK market, was the idea that, why not go to your cash flow forecasting tool and move where the person's going to pay you and bring that in, and maybe move where you're going to pay someone. And as you move that, literally moving the cash flow, you were actually interacting with what cash was going to leave your bank account. And you weren't just predicting, or you weren't just putting together kind of a plan, but you literally were planning where that money was going to leave and the money was going to come in. And I thought that whole concept was so powerful. And so it's obviously it's just a concept and it's a pipe dream, but that's got to be something that we've got to work towards. And I suppose my only say on that is I don't think that, doesn't matter how sophisticated other cash flow solutions are, I don't think they're able as a standalone to be able to get to that level, that dream status. I think we need to have QuickBooks Zero Sage develop their own, because that's the only way they're going to have all the tools available to be able to do everything that we need or we'd like it to do to get to that end. So I suppose it's how far we want to take cash flow, and do we want it to just be a report that we can run at the end of each quarter, or do we want it to be the place where clients are going in and actually moving things around and pushing things here and there to actually keep on top of their business? So what do you think to that? Do you think that pipe dream can ever happen, or is it something that...
I think that pipe dream to a certain degree is already happening in places like America.
Yeah.
So in America, they've got the cash flow, they've got QuickBooks Bank, and they can spot a hole in their cash flow and they can invoice finance straight away from there, or they can apply for a loan from there. And that's down to different regulatory bodies, different rules and laws in America versus the UK. The banking regulations in the UK are considerably stricter, but at the same time, we're further ahead in tech in banking than the US. So I think we can't lay it all at the software providers' feet. I think there is a certain amount of responsibility that is caused by, if the banking sector and the FCA regulators, etc., aren't allowing certain things to be built. We can have as many pipe dreams as we like, but certain things are out of the software provider's control. And they're delivering that pipe dream in America, so we know it can be done. What we need to work out is how we find a way around that in the UK with the current systems and regulations that are in place.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there. And I assume, though, that that's not something that's going to go away anytime soon. We've just got to accept that's the position we're in, and until we can do that. Or, as we said yesterday or the week before, is it time that the QuickBooks and the Xeros and the Sage properly open up their APIs, and then they let a third-party solution come in and do that solution for them? Because if Cresco could have that opportunity, I'm sure that's sort of thing that they would love to be able to plan payments for you and things like that. But the solutions like that don't have the APIs to be able to do it at the moment, do they?
No, that's the biggest problem, is the APIs that are allegedly open. Yes, they are open APIs, but those APIs don't reach into every nut and cranny and every feature of QuickBooks or Xero or something. It feels like there's more APIs reaching into more features within Xero than there is in QuickBooks, but it's certainly it's still not fully open.
Yeah, completely right. We've had some comments as well. So apologies, don't know who this person is, but we've got a LinkedIn user coming through saying, cash flow, what cash flow? I'm afraid to say you are missing a big chunk of the problem, where there will soon be no more business because the WEF is trying to wipe us all out. Do your research, they're not hiding it, and the sooner we can work together on this, the better. It's only going to get worse if no action is taken. I mean, there's definitely a good point there, isn't there? It's not, we can talk about cash flow till the cows come home, but yeah, there is definitely going to be a lack of business opportunities if if everything's going to happen. And we're going to be relying on things like the budget coming up and how that's going to support small businesses and support our businesses forward as well. And then we've also had a mention here, as mentioned, we find there is a perfect irony in a lot of our clients that want a cash flow are those that are unable to pay and have a full cash flow done by us and would benefit most from them. And that's that juggling act you were talking about, wasn't it, Johann?
Yeah, there's always a juggling act to be had there, and a lot of it comes down to us being able to explain the value to the client. I mean, there's a lot of clients out there where, for us, their cash flow is so simple. Actually, they can do it on a tool like QuickBooks Cash Flow. They don't need. We're not adding any value. We're probably just saving them time, but actually, we value our time probably more than the client values their time. So it would work out cheaper for them to just do it themselves, and that's fine, especially if they've got a very simple in and out type thing. But yeah, there are clients out there that really need a decent cash flow done and would be much, much better off. But is that the client's fault for not understanding that, or is it our fault for not explaining that? So would be my challenge to that comment.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But I think you've already said it. It's a tool for a conversation, isn't it? It's a conversation starter or a conversation enhancer, as I like to see it as, because I'm having those conversations with clients all the time about year-end accounts or explain a VAT return or something, or asking to have new services. Clients are booking time with us more than ever, it seems, at the moment, just to have a conversation about something. And always when they have that conversation, it's because they've also got questions they want to ask. And that's the whole point of us providing our services. We're providing our time. But if we can add to that conversation as well, while we're here, let's just have a look at that cash flow. If we had that confidence each and every time that cash flow forecast was just, it would never be perfect, but at least it's going to be in the right line and there's going to be enough there to pick apart. Then, like you said, you can then train your clients to see it and you're showing in them, and hopefully then they'll go to it on a more regular basis. But every time you and your client sits down and looks at it, right or wrong, if that data is going to be, that's still a really a really important conversation to have. If it's wrong, it's because the systems aren't in place, and let's have a conversation about that. If it's right, then okay, what are we learning from this? What can we gain from this? What can we bring it in? And I think that's where, for me, you've said it before, having a free solution, being able to have it there and have it, that's where the secret sauce is, isn't it? So yeah, I completely see what they're saying in the fact that it's, it will benefit most of them. But I think every client out there, if they're on software like QuickBooks or Xero or Sage, they have access to it. So we should be encouraging them to at least use it and look at it. And, hopefully from day one, they'll say, this is great potential, but maybe the data's not quite right or whatever it's going to be. But then that's a chance to fix that problem for them and help them and bring that forward. So yeah, Hopefully that's where we can be in the future. And then the final part of this topic would be, could you see things like accounts payables being automated in the future, says Charity Accountant. That's the dream, isn't it? That is what we want it to be. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. Either as we've already just said here, either we rely on our software solutions to do it for us, like QuickBooks or Xero, or we ask them to open up some more APIs. And the clever people out there that are creating wonderful apps for us will have the tools to be able to do it. So one way or another, I think that's where we want to be, isn't it? And worst case scenario, you challenge your banks, they'll just have some solution or software for bookkeeping that'll have it all done for them inside. So yeah, I think we're going to get there one way or another.
Definitely. Right. I have not got my notes open, Aaron, because everything crashed on me. So I think the next topic we wanted to talk about was our friends at Hammock. And so for those who aren't aware, Hammock is a relatively new tool to the market. What is it, a year or two old now? But it is mind-blowingly good because they've just nailed their niche. So Hammock is designed for landlords, only landlords. They don't do anything else but landlords, but my God, they've got it nailed. So Hammock allows a landlord to have all their properties listed on it. It allows them to have them listed and to do the bookkeeping for these properties, regardless of whether some of those properties are sole trader, some in partnership, or some in limited company. You can do it all in one place. That is just a fantastic solution for landlords. And they are getting some traction. It's not just us accountants that are thinking that this is an incredible bit of kit. They've had plenty of people sniffing around, and they've just announced in the last week or two a formal strategic partnership with Sage. So, Aaron, what are your thoughts on Sage and their strategic partnership with Hammock? Do we see a purchase in the pipeline? What are your thoughts on that?
Do I have to get the tinfoil hat out at this point? Is that what we're saying? Is this a tinfoil hat moment? No, I think this is, honestly, from a Sage point of view, they've done the right thing here. Like, the software that Hammock's produced, and like Johann's just said, is absolutely brilliant. And that whole idea that they've niched down, they've looked at what they need to kind of provide for their rental solutions, because it's not just the accounting side, but they've nailed everything else that comes with it. It is a tool, so you could run a portfolio, and I think that's something that is needed to be able to kind of push software going forward, especially with this, MTD-ITS is going to be such a change for people going forward. They already feel like they're being forced into having this software and forced into going down there. But if we can add value to that software, that's not just, oh, well, you can record just like you did on your Excel document, well, you can do it here. But if we're telling them that it's not just that it's an Excel document that's recording their taxes, but actually they're getting all these extra bits, like when they're when their insurance is due, and the rentable value, and all the other aspects that Hammock are already providing and want to provide in the future, then that's the sort of software that's going to get people talking and get people excited. And the fact that Sage has come along and said, look, this is wonderful software, we want to be involved, it adds it to their ecosystem, it's completely the right thing to do, especially when you look at what QuickBooks has done. And we're one of QuickBooks' biggest advocates. You won't find anyone, you can't cut more people than find more green coming out, QuickBooks green coming out. But their idea of doing a landlord version of QuickBooks self-employed just scares us completely. Like, I mean, I know it's not released yet, so maybe I'm completely wrong here, and maybe it's going to be absolutely amazing and all singing, all dancing. But my gut feeling is it's just a change of chart of accounts to a piece of software that's not designed for landlords anyway. So if they really are going to go down QuickBooks Self-Employed and have an option to tick landlord on there, then that's not a solution. That is just a band-aid or a a flashy marketing campaign that they can put through for providing software that's not actually fit for purpose. That's kind of what my gut feeling is going to be. I might be wrong on that one. But Sage's idea of going, it's going to take us years to develop a piece of software that's going to be compatible to the likes of Hammock. So let's go and actually get best on the market, and let's give the opportunity to do that. And I think from Hammock's point of view, it's great as well. Like, behind the scenes, basically, they just continue developing their software, but they put a nice little Sage stamp on it somewhere, and people can kind of go from there. So it does make the whole Sage ecosystem that even more attractive than it ever has been. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's going to work out for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Hammock have taken it to a degree of portfolio management that no one else, I think, will have any intention of trying to do. They've really gone and caught onto this whole concept of having a niche and working it. Like the fact that Hammock pulls in data from Zoopla, so it will tell you which of your properties are getting the best return on investment, the highest yield, and it's even working towards, if it's not there already, saying, well, actually, if you get rid of this property and buy this property over here, you'll get a better return. So yeah, it's a really powerful tool that Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent, their version of a landlord software seems to be a more relevant chart of accounts with an MTD. It's a feature built in, and you will need a different license for each one of them for each style of portfolio property you've got in the form of limited company, partnership, sole trader, etc. Hammock have really nailed it, and you can tell that it's been built by people in the landlord industry themselves. They're all landlords, and they have got people in there that are landlords that have worked in and around QuickBooks, certainly, over the years. So yeah, really powerful bit of kit, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think Caroline has asked on YouTube if this connection means Hammock won't be compatible with QuickBooks. Hammock isn't compatible with anything, technically. Hammock is its own standalone bookkeeping software that then will generate account information, trial balances in effect, and tax estimates is the plan, I think. And when MTD ITSA comes in, they're planning to file self-employed stuff directly into HMRC for you. So yeah, Sage taking a strategic partnership with Hammock doesn't stop it talking from Xero and QuickBooks, because it doesn't do that anyway. It's its own standalone thing, but it's conceivable to believe that Sage will potentially buy them, turn that blue Hammock logo into a green Hammock logo, call it Hammock by Sage, and it will be a Sage product. And you will be using, if you're using Hammock, you would in effect be using a Sage-owned bookkeeping software. So yeah, and that's then down to whether that's something you want to do or not. Personally, I try and avoid Sage-owned products, so I'm really hoping Sage don't buy out Hammock, but I might need to leave my dislike for Sage products and the old Sage brand behind and move on myself. I need to perhaps sort myself out there and move on with my prejudices. But yeah, Hammock's a great software, but to answer Caroline's question, it is a standalone bookkeeping general ledger software that doesn't need to integrate with QuickBooks or anything like that.
Yeah, what we would like it to integrate with is your accounts production software later down the line, isn't it? That would be more of an interesting conversation. But if we get our tinfoil hats on, and as Samantha says here, as they come on over to the QuickBooks world, Sage world, then maybe more likely it's going to have some sort of Sage integration to their accounts production solution. One thing I would say though is, that argument the point we made last time about softwares need to do more to convince us as accountants, like which brand do we go with for our MTD? Which one should we start investing in? I mean, this sort of partnership is exactly the sort of thing we're talking about. Like, there is something so positive about being able to say that you're in the ecosystem that's going to provide a solution for your rental property clients. Like that's a tick box for me. That's right. Okay, Sage get it. Sage understand. They're trying to develop something that goes, this is a pain point we're going to have, because rental properties or rental clients are the one bit where I think it's going to be the most difficult for us to provide that MTD. It's a support on scale. We're going to have to find solutions. We're going to have to have things like Hammock on our side. So Sage seeing that early, having that commitment there, I think it's an absolute no-brainer. They're going to have the beauty of going, right, let's send out a go proposal for them. that can be signed up, that can be ticked up, they can all sign up, and it's one tick box, one done, and everything's on. So they're seeing those pain points and they're acting accordingly. And I think that's definitely something that the rest of the industry needs to follow suit.
Definitely. And I'm going to lay my hat on the ground here and say I think Hammock is best in class, and Sage have made a really smart move of partnering with them so early. There are other landlord products out there, don't get me wrong, that aren't your general ledger software. They are specific for landlords, so things like Arthur, stuff like that, but they're extraordinarily expensive. Like, they are for people that have got 10, 20 properties in their portfolio that need to manage them and facilitate them all. Hammock is there for whether you've got one property or 20 properties, and it's functional and it's fantastic and the features are great. It is best in class.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sage is moved extremely quickly here to get them a strategic partnership there, ring fencing them a bit from the rest of the options out there. So yeah, it's if I was only looking after landlord clients, it would certainly open up my consideration of, right, I'm using Hammock for all of them. Well, then naturally, if there's already a fairly powerful accounting integration to Sage, and they don't build the rest of them out too quickly, then maybe I should be using Sage accounts generation software, the tax filing software, the payroll software. Like, from a business point of view, it's extremely savvy and smart to have done it.
And Sage, like Chariot saying here, Sage are buying into or partnering with products that say that offer good support, and they're building the solution the right way. We know a few of the guys at Hammock, don't we? And we know kind of their background, so it's not surprising that, you know, when you think about where the background comes from, some of the higher up there, and what, you know, ethos and philosophy they came from in terms of selling software. It's all about support, and it's all about, you know, that sort of idea. We know, or we're not surprised that they're building up great solutions. So yeah, it's good. I'm really excited for it, and those niches, like, it just shows that those niches can be dealt with so much better when there's a piece of solution that's built directly for them. So yeah, fingers crossed. And at least it's Sage getting involved, and not one of the other solutions out there that likes to buy products and then let them to die. So enough about that, and we'll move on to maybe the next topic.
So that's a whole different rant in general. But yes, right. I am conscious it is 9:23 according to my clock. We did have quite a long list of questions come in. Is there anything that we need to answer straight away that's time sensitive, or is there stuff that can wait for next week and we'll spend a bit more time on it?
Yeah, I definitely think the 2 questions that we had lined up at the beginning we should definitely save. And like you said, because we're a bit time sensitive, let's just let's finish off on the more kind of personal question. What do you think that came through?
Go for it. I've not got them in front of me, so
awesome. Let's do that then. Okay, so we had a nice little personal question following on from last week. So before I give the question away, don't forget that if you do have any questions, then don't forget to use anything that's below. We've always got the Ask the Accountant link tree is always available. I'm going to put it into the chat as well for anyone who is talking to us live. But effectively, if you want to ask us a question, best place by far is to use the feedback solution. Go to Ask the Accountant, and on there we've done a nice little Google form for you to ask. And we've had lots of questions come in. Again, we're going to be saving a few of them for next week. We'll do a bit of a Q&A special, as long as nothing major happens between now and then. But the question that we have is following on from last week's big question, and the question that got a lot of people talking, which was following on from your breakfast choices last week, because I know there's been a few kind of people talking about that going forward. But what is your go-to restaurant for dinner? Johann, this is going to be a big question for you. And, you know, maybe you're going to have to take 3 different solutions like you did last time. But yeah, we're all waiting with bated breath.
No, there's only one solution that's a winner for me every time. I know, right? So, and it actually came up this weekend. So it's my birthday later this month. So the wife wanted to know where to book for dinner. And my favorite restaurant, I'm afraid it's not vegetarian or vegan friendly, but is Vicenza, It's a Brazilian steakhouse restaurant. They've got them all over the UK, and they have the most amazing steaks. And basically, you sit there, and all the waiters come around with different cuts of meat and different types of meat, and they just slice it onto your plate. And it's an all-you-can-eat affair, but classy. And they've got what they call their market street buffet, full of fantastic salads and foods and stuff. And yeah, I really enjoy that. So I try and get there a couple of times a year. It's not the cheapest place for dinner, but for special occasions, it's very nice to go to.
And is that the one where you have to turn the little thing to say you've finished and stop? Is that I'm thinking about one?
Right? Yeah, you've got like a coaster that is green and they'll keep bringing food to you. If you go to red, they stop bringing the meat to you until you flip
and then you get rolled out at that point, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Rolled back onto the street and hope for the best.
Exactly. Yeah, you go into the meat sweats and they start having to remove you from the restaurant.
Great answer. For me, there's two that spring to mind. The first one, if ever I've have to, if you're traveling by yourself or you're going on a long journey or whatever, and you want to eat by yourself, then eating alone is never a great experience normally, unless you can get yourself into Yo Sushi, because I just find that place absolutely brilliant. You sit down, order what you want, you put your order on your phone, or you let it go past. It's just the only place where I feel like it's almost socially acceptable to be sat there by yourself, and it's almost like it's fine, no one's judging you sort of idea. So I absolutely love Yo Sushi for that, and also the food is absolutely brilliant. So it's kind of my go-to fast foodie type event. And yeah, if ever I'm doing a trip to London and having to sat in St Pancras ready to go back down to Derby, or back up to Derby, should I say, then yeah, I'm frequent to going over to Yo Sushi. But my kind of probably my favorite just meal place to go out and just have like socializing for, it's got to be Miller and Carter for me, which is similar kind of concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, Miller and Carter, the only place where I get excited about lettuce, because comes in with that big chunk of lettuce and the sauce that's on there. So yeah, Miller and Carter will always hold a special place, and get yourself in there and enjoying that, I think it's the right thing to do. So yeah, I think I was expecting kind of some sort of client recommendation from you coming through, but no, there's nothing you can think of.
A lot of my clients, I mean, if you're staying up in Dunkeld in Perthshire, there's a fantastic hotel bistro place called the Apple Hotel, which is absolutely outstanding for food and customer service. But
yeah,
no, Miller and Carter. My father-in-law's recently discovered Miller and Carter, and so I've got to go around to his and do a capital gains tax return this week for him. And in payment, he's taking me to Miller and Carter later.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Absolutely fine by me. That's the kind of payments I can accept in kind.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Well, I think that's the end of today's show. And look at that for timing. Absolutely smashed it. Got it there over the line. So, Johann, is there anything that people should be looking out for, excited about from your point of view, while I try and get the outro and everything ready?
Oh, Christ, what's going on? So we have got QuickBooks Labs on Wednesday at 5 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. So come and join us for the latest news on QuickBooks. I think we're doing a topic which is woulda, shoulda, coulda. What softwares and other accounting organizations could, would, or should QuickBooks have acquired before their competitors? So that could be quite an interesting topic, especially after today's conversations. And then I am doing a webinar with SIF Analytics and Cresco on Thursday. I'll post that on my LinkedIn channel, talking about reporting software, the value it adds to clients, and how accountants can support their clients through an economic crisis, taking learnings from COVID, basically. Where does that put us? That's like the 5th of November. I think that's it. Busy week ahead.
Very
what
busy,
about you, Aaron?
That sounds of it. So anyone who's doing training on QuickBooks Advanced, and you'll be hearing my wonderful voice, I've got QuickBooks Advanced this week. So looking forward to training that one. And also we've got a big get together with all our trainers the week after, which is I'm really looking forward to, because that means we can start trying to plan ahead and maybe, find some ways in which we can make the training even better for everyone. So anyone out there getting there or haven't yet got their advanced training, then go get themselves signed up. Highly recommend it. Go over to your QuickBooks Pro Advisor station and get yourself signed up there. and you can get training from the very best, if I do say so myself. And then my video to look out for, I would say this one. I'm quite excited about this video. So I did a bit of a video where it was cool tech, but can it run QuickBooks? So I've gone through, and I won't ruin which ones I've gone through, but I've gone through some quite obscure solutions that actually do run QuickBooks online. So it might justify for you going out there and getting a little spend on there. So if you, especially with Christmas coming up, and you think to yourself, do I want to spend a bit of business money on XYZ and treat myself? Well, you know, I won't ruin it for you, but there are some quite interesting solutions out there that don't just do QuickBooks, but, you know, can do QuickBooks on the side if you need to. So yeah, highly recommend listening out for that one. And I will do one more plug as well. We are 996 subscribers over on Buffett's Accountancy. So we are so close, so close. So if you do have the opportunity, go over there, give it a like, give it a subscribe, everything else goes with it. And speaking of plug, that's a wrap. Don't forget, we're live on Monday, 8:30 every single week, hopefully. There might be one week that I've got to talk about you off air, but the links are ready and live to submit questions. But do please like, subscribe to all the channels that we're pushing on here. So Johann's personal YouTube channel, Johann's LinkedIn, my YouTube channel, Aaron Patrick QuickBooks Chap. Go give them a like, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff. And if you do have a spare few minutes, please go and give a like and a review on podcast services of your choice as well, because that really does help. And I think that's everything, isn't it, Johann?
I think that is it. I think that is everything. I think that's a fantastic show, packed full of opinions and rants, as always, as it should be. So that's everything from me. So thank you very much to everyone that's listening. Goodbye from me.
That's goodbye from me. Have a good week, everyone. Bye.